Aron, a research psychologist at Stony Brook University, published a paper in 1997 that would eventually reach over 100 million people. The paper described a trait she called sensory processing sensitivity, a measurable difference in how certain nervous systems handle incoming stimuli. Her findings were precise, carefully bounded, and came with a long list of limitations. Then the internet got hold of it. Within a decade, the research had been compressed into a personality label, the highly sensitive person, and turned into a self-diagnosis industry. Books, quizzes, Instagram infographics, entire communities built on a single idea. You feel more because you're wired differently, and that makes you special. Aron herself has said more than once that this was not what the research showed. What the research showed was something far more interesting and far less comfortable. The first thing to dismantle is the pop version. There are 3 false narratives about sensitivity that circulate widely, and all 3 distort the actual science. False version 1, sensitivity equals emotional depth. The idea that sensitive people feel more deeply, love more intensely, experience beauty more vividly, as though sensitivity is a romantic superpower. False version 2, sensitivity is the same as empathy. The claim that highly sensitive people are natural empaths who absorb the emotions of those around them. False version 3, sensitivity is always a gift. The framing that says if the world is too loud for you, you are simply operating at a higher frequency. All 3 are appealing. All 3 sell well. None of them are accurate representations of what Aron measured. What Aron actually measured was processing depth. Her scale, the Highly Sensitive Person Scale, or HSPS, assesses how deeply a person processes sensory and emotional input, not how much they feel. How thoroughly their nervous system processes what comes in. The distinction matters enormously. A person scoring high on the HSPS does not necessarily have stronger emotions. They have a nervous system that takes longer to complete the processing cycle. More neural resources are allocated. More connections are made. More implications are computed. The input goes deeper into the system before a response is generated. This is why sensitive people often need more time to make decisions, more time to recover from stimulation, and more time to process emotional events. It is not because they feel more. It is because their processing pipeline is longer. And this is where the science becomes genuinely important. In 2009, Belsky and Pluess proposed a framework called differential susceptibility. Their argument, backed by the converging evidence from genetics, developmental psychology, and neuroscience, was this. The trait that makes a person more reactive to negative environments is the exact same trait that makes them more reactive to positive ones. Not selectively reactive, equally reactive. In both directions, sensitivity is not a filter that lets in the good and blocks the bad. It is an amplifier. It increases the volume on everything that comes through. A highly sensitive child raised in a stable, supportive, emotionally attuned home develops better emotional regulation, stronger social skills, and greater resilience than the average child, measurably, consistently across studies. The same child raised in a chaotic, neglectful, or emotionally unpredictable home develops worse outcomes than a less sensitive child in the same conditions, also measurably, also consistently. The trait does not protect, it does not select, it magnifies. Whatever the environment delivers, the sensitive nervous system takes that signal and turns the dial higher. This is the part that the pop version skips entirely, because it is uncomfortable. It means that being highly sensitive in a supportive environment is genuinely advantageous, but being highly sensitive in a toxic environment is genuinely costly. The trait is not inherently a gift, it is a multiplier, and multipliers are only as good as what they multiply. Acevedo and colleagues confirmed this at the neural level in 2014. They scanned people scoring high on Aron's scale using fMRI while showing them images of their partner's facial expressions, happy and sad. The high SPS group showed significantly greater activation in brain regions associated with awareness, empathy, and action planning. Not just for positive emotions, for all emotions, the sensitive brain did not selectively amplify the beautiful. It amplified everything, including pain, discomfort, rejection, and ambiguity. The mirror neuron system and the insular areas tied to feeling what others feel were more active across the board. not just when the input was pleasant. And this leads to a distinction that most conversations about sensitivity avoid. Where does high sensory processing sensitivity end and clinical anxiety begin? Leonetti and colleagues addressed this directly in 2018 with a large-scale study designed to separate the two constructs. Their finding: SPS and anxiety overlap in symptoms but differ in mechanism. Both produce heightened reactivity. Both cause overstimulation in busy environments. Both lead to avoidance of chaotic social situations. From the outside, they look identical. From the inside, the circuits are different. SPS is a depth of processing trait. The nervous system is doing more work per unit of input. Anxiety is a threat detection bias. The nervous system is interpreting neutral input as dangerous. The difference matters because the responses are opposite. SPS benefits from environments that match its processing depth. Quiet, meaningful, low stimulation settings where the amplifier works in its favour. Anxiety benefits from gradual exposure to the avoided stimuli, the opposite of retreat. Treating SPS as though it were anxiety leads to unnecessary pathologizing. Treating anxiety as though it were SPS leads to comfortable avoidance disguised as self-care. What this means for real life is not a label, it is a calibration. If your nervous system processes deeply, and about 15 to 20% of the population scores high on Aron's scale, across genders, across cultures, then the question is not whether you are sensitive. The question is what environment you are running that sensitivity in, because the amplifier does not care about the content, it amplifies. A deeply processing nervous system in a relationship built on trust and communication becomes a tool for extraordinary connection. The same system in a relationship built on unpredictability and criticism becomes a mechanism for accelerated erosion. The science does not say you are gifted. It does not say you're broken. It says you are running a higher resolution system that requires more careful input management. That is not poetry. That is engineering. This week covered 3 territories: the exhaustion of social contact, the disappearance of close friendship, and now the mechanics of deep processing. All 3 share one thread. A nervous system that operates differently is not better or worse. It is specific, and specificity demands precision, not in how you label yourself, but in how you design the conditions around you. Sensitivity is not something you overcome, and it is not something you celebrate. It is something you calibrate. And calibration starts with understanding the mechanism, not the myth. Next week, the other end of the spectrum, people who stay calm when everything around them is burning. The mechanism behind that calm is not strength. It is something else entirely, and it is not always what it looks like.